Hello friends, welcome back to another video journal here. Thanks for tuning in. Last week I used this vlog to talk about slowing down, and it was phenomenally helpful for me. After making that video of the message that I needed to hear, it just kept reminding me throughout the week to keep slowing down, and it helped a lot. Every time I felt this sense of needing to rush, or just where your nervous system gets worked up and tense and rises up and unstable, and rushing does that, I would just remember, slow down, don't need a rush. And it was really helpful for me because I still was able to do everything I needed to do. I showed up for everything I needed to show up for, and I did it with much less stress and tension. So everything still got done. I was less stressed, less rushed, less uncomfortable with it all. So yeah, I'm going to keep remembering that. It's a pretty important thing to be focusing on as I continue this process of being a beginner and all sorts of things. And so for today, I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Talk a bit about how everything's been going and what I'm learning and how I'm feeling about it. And so the major thing to talk about right now is I am currently just right in the midst of the Wildland Academy. So I am in training to be able to be a wildland firefighter this upcoming season. And unfortunately, it looks like it could be a pretty bad wildfire season. The lack of snow out here in the mountains of Colorado at this time is, I've never, as long as I've lived out here, it's been out here for 4 years, and it's never been even near this little of snow. And so it is concerning. Definitely don't want fires in the West, but it might be a major season. I guess we'll see. If I do have a lot of wildfire work this season, I'm excited to learn a lot. I'm excited to dive in, and I'm also excited to have an income so that I'll be stable there. But I don't want it for. I'm not looking forward to the larger implications of that. If it comes to be, we could have a super wet spring. So who knows? But yeah, I've been training, and I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it a lot, actually. I'm enjoying it even more than I expected. And the reason for that is because I'm finding it, the wildland training is so aligned, and it's also giving me so much more insight into what I'm already interested in, which is nature. Being attuned to nature makes for a very good wildland firefighter, and being active in nature. So I feel like I'm in very good shape for hiking and just moving my body and doing physical embodied work. And so I enjoy that sort of thing as long as I'm outside. And nature is such a huge part of wildland firefighting. And so one of the main topics we've been talking about that I find absolutely fascinating is topography. And so it's this sense of being aware of the land that you are on, or where the fire is. And I've been doing that just as I go on walks out here in the forest for years now. For the past 1 year, so I've been really trying to have a kind of embodied instinctual sense of the flow of the land, how the hills are orienting the natural flow of the hills and the valleys and the ups and the downs. And um, I've I'm naturally, I enjoy that. I like walking off trail because I like being attuned to a um, a natural sense of what the land is doing. And so, and that is such an important thing to be aware of when it comes to wildland firefighting. And so I love it. It's awesome. And so it allows me to tap into my own kind of thing that I've been learning and cultivating within myself. I never expected it to necessarily support work that I like, just a job that I'm doing, but here it is. And so it just feels really, really good and confirming that something I'm so interested in already and naturally wanting to learn more about is something that I'm literally now studying in class and learning about, and finding how important it is for wildland. And so I feel encouraged that this is something that um, I will be able to keep deepening into. And so with the topography, it also relates to the plant life on the land. And so being attuned to what the different fuels are, the trees and the grasses and the brush and all the different things. And even the deeper you can understand the local plant life, which I understand quite well here in this region of Colorado, but I also have so much more to learn. But understanding that will also inform how if there's a fire, how that's going to move, how dry it is, how different plants dry out, how humidity and moisture affects it all. And so it's just another little aspect of something that I find so interesting. So like here's, yeah, actually, since I'm out here, I can show an example. So a big part of wildland topography to be aware of while fighting fire is north and south facing slopes. Based on how the sun hits them, they end up being quite different. So if you look behind me, this is a south facing slope. And so you can see that there's lots of grass. And so grass dries very quickly and it burns quickly, but it also doesn't have the staying power. And so, yeah, there's not as many trees and not as much branches and logs and fallen trees and that kind of debris. So, but it also, when grass gets dried out, it also can catch much more quickly. And so there's the south side, and as opposed to the north side of a hill. Look at that. Let's see, the sun's a little in there, but if I go down, this is the beginning of a north-facing slope, and that's where like so much forest is. And so since it doesn't get as much direct sun, most trees grow better and it's much more forested. And so that doesn't catch as easily. However, if it does catch in there, there's bigger fuel that has a lot more staying power. So being aware of how north and south slopes and then how the fire is moving between that, I find extremely fascinating and just fun. And something I really love is there's a point in the valley where the south side and the north side meet. And there's this place where there's like extra life. So this is a lot of where like aspens love to live. And there's sometimes this is where water will be flowing. The soil is usually more rich. The trees are generally bigger. The trees right here at the transition between the plains and the open and the forested north side of the slopes, these transition points are actually the most vital and fertile places in the mountains. And yeah, I've actually been interested in that for a while now. A word for it is, it's called an ecotone, and an ecotone is a place where two different biomes meet. So a classic would be where the forest meets the plains, but there's all kinds of ecotones. An oasis can be an ecotone. An estuary where saltwater meets freshwater, that's considered an ecotone. So this place where two different types of biomes, two different types of life that on the land where they meet, they combine, and they often create a very diverse and very unique place for life. And so there are all these little mini ecotones right here in the valleys where the south slope and the north slope come together, and it makes for vital and alive pieces of land. And I love it. I love the ecotone, and I feel like there's so much to learn from that in all of life. It reminds me of a place of balance, and which makes for a place of so much life, where the yin and the yang meet, the sunny side of the hill and the shaded side of the hill. We're the place where they meet. That point of balance, that point of coming together, is actually where the most life, the most diversity, and the most vitality exists. And so I've been contemplating that for a little while, and I kind of love it. And this is part of how nature has been teaching me so much. And now what I have learned, I will be able to apply to being out on the land on wildfires, as well as I'll be able to continue my education, being able to learn it from different perspectives. And also I'll have the opportunity to go to different states and learn entirely different biomes of life and new plants and new things that I'm not as familiar with. So it feels really exciting and really good. And so this the plant life and topography has been fun to learn about. But what has really stirred my heart and stirred my excitement in a whole new way is learning about the weather and the atmosphere. I'm outside all the time, and I pay attention to the sky, and I love the sky, but I had never. What they say is the best wildland firefighter is essentially a field meteorologist. It's not a meteorologist that's necessarily, predicting long-term things. Those are other meteorologists, but a person who, the local land that you're on, a good wildland firefighter is very attuned to what the local weather is doing, how it's shifting, where it's going, and everything in the atmosphere is there's a causality to it. And so things are not random. Even though it's very chaotic, it can be very chaotic and very turbulent, so it can seem random, but it's not. It's like the atmosphere, we're in this big ocean of fluid, which is the air, but it's an ocean, it's a fluid, and we are in it, and we are breathing it, and we are walking in it, and it's always telling us what the current state is. And if you observe it over time, from hours and days, how it's changing also continues to give more information. So learning about the weather in this wildland course has been, I think, my favorite part, because it's opened me up to a whole new realm of nature that I want to get more and more in tune with. And I feel there's a part of me that's like, wow, how have I not been, like, all this time being outside, I have never contemplated the atmosphere as deeply as what I'm doing now, because of the wildland firefighter training. And so that feels really encouraging too, and it's making me I'm like going outside to look at the clouds and feel the wet air and make notes of it, and I'm like trying to learn in a instinctual and embodied way, but then also learning the scientific information. And it's just been so exciting to have this new realm of nature opened up to me. And so thank you, Wildland Firefighting, and thank you for making me more aware of the atmosphere. And it's something that I really want to continue to pay a lot of attention to, so that, because it is inherently interesting and satisfying to me, because we are a part of the atmosphere. We're always moving through the ocean of the atmosphere. And so there's a deep sense of connection for me in it. In the same way I feel connected to the land, I am now like, wow, I want to experience myself more connected to the atmosphere. So it really has felt, calling it like a weather awakening or an atmospheric awakening, in the sense of I've never felt so aware and so interested to connect in deeper to the weather and atmosphere than ever before. And so I'm kind of just geeking out over it, and I can geek out over it, but at the same time, it's a fruitful learning process, which will make me a better and better wildland firefighter. And also, like, at the serious levels, deaths throughout wildland firefighting history are always related to the wind and the weather. That is the number one cause of change in fire behavior, and it's the number one influence on, well, more or less the number one influence on fire behavior, because it can be the least predictable. We can be aware of what the fuels are. The fuels are not going to change. They're going to be where they are, and then they're going to be consumed as fire comes through. Yeah, weather can turn when the weather changes, and that's always what causes fires to what's called blow up, where they change dramatically and suddenly and become extremely dangerous. And so there's a huge fruitful thing of this intention I have to become more attuned to the atmosphere, and that, because that will add safety for the crew that I'm with as I practice being instinctively and also intellectually. But it's not that's the key with the field meteorologist is not about analyzing it on computers and satellites and what's coming. It's about being deeply attuned to what's present on this spot of land right now. Wow, I've been talking for a long time. Well, so yeah, thanks for being here, and thanks for letting me geek out about what I've been learning. I have also only just begun. I don't really know much. I'm gonna actually, yeah. So yeah, I'm a beginner, but I have been awakened to a deeper connection with the atmosphere, and I am truly grateful for it. And it feels so integrated and aligned and connected, because not only is it touching what is intrinsically exciting and motivating and fascinating to me, and something that I actually want to learn just for myself, but it's going to be a very fruitful and useful and important thing to be learning for this new chapter that I'm entering into with the wildland firefighting. And so, yeah, I still have, I'm about halfway through training, and yeah, I will keep you posted once I'm officially red card certified, and I will be officially on the roster for getting deployed. And yeah, it's only February, and I think there's a big fire in Texas and a big fire in New Mexico. At least this week I haven't been paying super close attention, no one from my station has been deployed into those yet, but everyone's saying that the current state of things is that it will be a busy and bad fire season for the West this year, or at least the non-Pacific West. And so I might get a lot of experience this summer, but we'll see. I have my first Toastmasters speech here coming up this week. And so I will post my first Toastmaster speech here onto my channel soon. And so yeah, thank you for listening to this life journey update today. And yeah, sorry for geeking out over land and plants and weather, but you know me, I love nature, and nature is one of my greatest teachers. And so I'm very grateful for the confirmation to feel so intrinsically motivated to continue to learn and grow and cultivate skills that are already within me, but I'm finding whole new levels of opening and new possibility and new potential, new excitement. So I am enjoying it, and I'm settling into it more and more. And still a lot of uncomfortability, being mostly just more doing all these things at the station and public speaking and all these stretch areas. But every week I settle into it more. I feel like I have more capacity, less stress, and it all just feels so aligned, which is really, really what keeps me going. So thanks for listening to my geek out today, and I love you all. Thank you for tuning in, and I will talk to you all next week.